At this moment, a conflict unfolding in the Middle East is putting pressure on one of the most important systems behind American global power. The surprising part is that this system has nothing to do with fighter jets, aircraft carriers, or nuclear weapons. The real foundation of that power is financial. For decades, the United States has held a unique position at the center of the global economic system. Much of that influence comes from a structure known as the petrodollar system. It is a system that quietly connects global energy markets with the US dollar, shaping international trade and financial flows for more than half a century. Most discussions about the current tensions in the Middle East focus on visible events. News reports show missile strikes, drone attacks, and political leaders delivering statements about national security. Analysts debate military capabilities and speculate about retaliation. But these dramatic images only represent the surface of the situation. Beneath the visible conflict lies a deeper struggle involving economics, geography, and the balance of global power. At stake is a financial structure that has helped keep the US dollar at the center of international trade for over 50 years. Understanding this system begins with a simple reality. Modern civilization runs on energy, and for the past century, oil has been the dominant source of that energy. Factories require it to operate, aircraft depend on it to fly. Cargo ships carrying goods across oceans rely on it for fuel. Cars, trucks, and military vehicles all depend on petroleum products. Without oil, the modern global economy would slow dramatically. For decades, nearly all oil traded on international markets has been priced and sold using one currency, the United States dollar. This arrangement has enormous consequences for the global economy. Any country that needs to import oil must first obtain dollars. Whether the buyer is Japan, India, Germany, or Brazil, the process is largely the same. Domestic currencies must be exchanged for dollars before oil purchases can be completed. The result is a constant and worldwide demand for the American currency. Governments hold dollar reserves to ensure they can purchase energy. Financial institutions keep large quantities of dollars circulating through global markets. Central banks across the world maintain dollar holdings as a strategic necessity. This ongoing demand provides the United States with remarkable economic advantages. Because the dollar is so widely needed, the US government can borrow enormous sums of money while maintaining relatively low interest rates. Investors around the world are willing to buy US government debt because the dollar remains essential for global trade. This allows the United States to finance large government budgets, support extensive international commitments, and maintain the most powerful military force on the planet. However, this system did not emerge naturally. It was constructed through strategic agreements, particularly with the oil-producing nations of the Persian Gulf. In the 1970s, a framework developed in which major oil exporters agreed to sell their petroleum exclusively in US dollars. In return, the United States offered military protection and security partnerships. American military presence in the region provided stability and reassurance. Gulf nations benefited from strong security guarantees, while the United States secured the financial infrastructure supporting the dollar's global dominance. This arrangement became the backbone of the petrodollar system as long as oil continued to be traded in dollars and the Gulf remained stable. The system reinforced itself. But stability in geopolitics often depends on perception as much as reality. If investors believe a region is safe, capital flows freely. Businesses invest, infrastructure expands, and financial markets grow stronger. If that perception begins to weaken, money can move elsewhere quickly. This is why the Persian Gulf plays such an important role in the current geopolitical landscape. Countries like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, and Kuwait are not simply oil producers. They also function as central nodes in global financial networks. Their oil revenues circulate through international markets, reinforcing the economic influence of the dollar. Cities such as Dubai illustrate how this stability attracts investment. Over the past few decades, Dubai transformed into a global financial and commercial hub. Businesses from around the world established offices there, and wealthy investors placed enormous sums into real estate and infrastructure. Much of that success depended on the belief that the region was stable and protected. If that perception begins to change, the consequences could be significant. Missile strikes, drone attacks, or disruptions to shipping lanes introduce uncertainty. Insurance companies reassess the risk of transporting cargo through the region. Investors reconsider long-term projects. Capital begins to move more cautiously. Even the possibility of instability can cause financial ripples across global markets. Geography adds another layer to this situation. At the entrance of the Persian Gulf lies a narrow waterway known as the Strait of Hormuz. In some places, it is only about 50 kilometers wide, yet it serves as one of the most important energy corridors on Earth. Roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through this passage every day. Major economies such as China, India, Japan, and South Korea depend heavily on shipments traveling through this route. If shipping were disrupted there, the effects would be felt across global energy markets almost immediately. Oil prices could surge, supply chains could falter, and industries that depend on imported energy might face serious challenges. Control over such a strategic choke point creates significant geopolitical leverage. Iran sits directly along this corridor, giving it a unique geographic position. However, Iran's strategy does not rely on matching the military capabilities of larger powers. Instead, it focuses on asymmetrical tactics designed to create disruption at relatively low cost. One example involves the use of drones. A military drone capable of carrying explosives might cost tens of thousands of dollars to produce. Yet the missile used to intercept that drone can cost millions. In some situations, multiple interceptor missiles are launched to ensure a successful defense. Over time, this creates a financial imbalance. The attacker spends comparatively little, while the defender must invest significantly more resources to neutralize each threat. If such exchanges continue over long periods, the economic burden on defensive systems can become substantial. Infrastructure vulnerabilities further complicate the picture. Many Gulf nations exist in extremely dry desert environments where natural freshwater resources are limited. Large portions of their drinking water come from desalination plants that convert seawater into fresh water. These facilities are massive industrial installations located along coastlines. Because they are fixed structures, they are difficult to hide or relocate. Any disruption to their operations could affect millions of residents who rely on them daily. Similarly, oil fields, pipelines, and export terminals often stretch across vast open desert landscapes. Protecting every kilometer of infrastructure is an enormous challenge. Even small disruptions can have significant economic effects. Energy markets react quickly to uncertainty. Shipping companies adjust routes, insurance premiums rise, and investors reassess risks. Sometimes the mere possibility of an attack is enough to trigger financial consequences. Strategists often describe such confrontations using a concept known as the game of chicken. Two opponents move toward each other on a collision course. The first to change direction appears weak, but if neither side backs down, the result can be disastrous for both. In geopolitical conflicts, each side tries to demonstrate resolve while avoiding total escalation. Iran can threaten shipping routes and infrastructure in the Gulf. The United States and its allies possess the ability to strike Iranian facilities or impose economic pressure. Each action invites a response. The danger lies in miscalculation. If both sides believe the other will eventually step back, they may continue escalating until the situation moves beyond their control. For policymakers, this creates extremely difficult decisions. Airstrikes can damage military assets and infrastructure, but history shows that bombing campaigns alone rarely lead to political collapse. Achieving deeper strategic goals often requires ground forces, which introduces major political and military challenges. At the same time, American allies in the Gulf expect protection under long-standing security partnerships. Balancing these expectations while avoiding a wider conflict is a delicate task. Underlying all of these tensions is the stability of the petrodollar system itself. For decades, it has functioned because nations trusted that the Gulf would remain stable, that oil would continue to be priced in dollars, and that the United States would maintain security in the region. As long as those assumptions remained intact, the system reinforced itself. But systems built on confidence can be vulnerable when that confidence is tested. If disruptions grow more frequent, countries may gradually explore alternatives. Energy trade might begin to occur in other currencies. New financial arrangements could emerge. Between regional powers, such developments would not necessarily happen overnight, but over time they could contribute to a more multipolar global economy. Instead of one dominant financial system centered around a single currency, multiple economic centers could develop, each with its own networks of trade and influence. The future of the global economic order remains uncertain. Wars and geopolitical crises often unfold in unexpected ways. Diplomatic breakthroughs, political changes, or economic adjustments can reshape the situation quickly. What is already clear, however, is that the systems that once seemed permanent are now being tested. The conflict in the Middle East is not only a military confrontation, it is also a challenge to the economic structures that have shaped global power for decades. How those structures respond to pressure may help determine the direction of the international system in the years ahead.